All right. So, welcome to The Real Deal On with Doug here. And oh, by the way, today's episode is brought to you by Revolutionary Growth. You could go ahead to www.guidedmeditation.com for your free guided hypnotic meditation. Just had to throw that in. All right. So, my dear friend, Roberto Monaco. And
What's up?
the reason why we wanted to obviously have you on, we haven't spoken in a little bit just through Facebook and so forth. Roberto and I go back to the Tony Robbins days. He was actually the first time we spoke was when you interviewed me for the gig with Tony.
Yeah.
And then at some point, maybe we'll talk about how horrible I did the first day I was there. I bombed miserably, and maybe we'll talk about that. And then you were legendary within the Robbins organization, one of the best speakers, trainers, presenters ever seen. And your passion knows no bounds. And then you left. You moved on to change the world without us. And couldn't be more proud of you and happy for you. Obviously, every time I'm in an area that you're doing one of your events, we come by and support you. But today, we'd love to dig deep on the key elements to persuasive presentation, because that's what you train, and the mindset necessary. And also, let's talk about, as we're going through this, how you've dealt with the challenges of having to reinvent or pivot. And I hate to use that word, but you had to, as speakers, we had an interesting thing happen with all this. So God bless you for all you do and who you are, and congratulations. And what's up?
Doug, my brother, so happy to be here, man. So happy. I remember when you connected Tony. I remember actually the first time, but I also remember later on you crushing it. And you've been always an amazing influencer, student and teacher of NLP, hypnosis, language patterns, the best actually. So I'm always, even Jeff and I talk about, man, Doug is good. He's smooth. We always talk about you in a good way, behind your back in a good way.
Why, was he talking poorly?
No. Just like about, we always like, man, Doug is smooth, man. He knows his stuff. And I really appreciate you being almost like a scientist when it comes to NLP, hypnotic language patterns. So I appreciate that. And you do.
Thank you, brother.
And I know since the Tony, you went through your journey of changing, thousands of people's lives. And so I'm super excited to be here today, bud. Super pumped. My shirt is not as cool as yours, but it's still purple, bro.
The color of royalty.
yeah, that's it. So since Tony Robbins, I've been doing a public speaking presentation training, and nowadays I actually don't like the word public speaking training, because I think when you talk about public speaking, you put people in a frame of like, oh, it's just me about doing a talk in front of a group. But now what's Zoom? What are you doing now? Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram, right? So we have all these platforms, and all they are is an extension of, right? Yep. Of you doing a talk. So that's the idea. So I want to put a reference, a frame around. It's about group communication. It's about one person, in our event, in our case here, two, to speaking and communicating to more people. So that's the idea. So I feel that when we help people, there's primarily three areas, categories for someone who either is not speaking or not communicating, or someone who is communicating but will do a better job at it. So I look at three big chunks. The first chunk is the mindset piece, which you're a master at it. Is the whole idea about people struggle with the fear, uncertainty, doubt. Some people have no problem speaking, but they're afraid to close. Some people have a limiting mindset about, I don't have a story, or my message is not important. So you got to deal with that issue first, the mindset piece. Then you have the communication presentation piece, which for people who speak often, there is a structure or a way to organize content, which is super powerful, especially if you're recording a video, recording a webinar, if you're going to do a keynote. There's actually a sequence or how to put an effective talk together. And I have been studying that for many years, and I love it. I'm almost like a scientist when it comes to presentation structure. And the best way to explain this, Doug, for our audience here is this. When you and I, or anybody, we actually write on, let's say, in a Word document, your eyes see the words, right, in a white screen. That's what we see. I'm typing, right? But underneath it, there's a computer language generating those words. Now, we don't see the computer language, right? You see just the words. And being able to have a presentation structure is the same level. Basically, I like to teach people how to, quote unquote, code. I actually create a code for a persuasive talk. Right? That whatever I say or communicate, you can, but there's a code underneath it. And then the third, so the mindset piece, the presentation piece, and the third one is charisma. It's about, okay, how do I go deliver the message in a powerful, engaging way? Let me give an example. This morning, I woke up every morning at 4 a.m. and I went to the gym at 5. They open up at 5. And yesterday, I bought 3 new audiobooks, 3 new ones. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to my audiobooks, right? And the first one, start listening, 10 minutes. Second one, third one. And I'm like, and the topics that I love it. I'm a student. As a matter of fact, all the 3 audiobooks on storytelling, which I love and I teach, but I always want to improve. But I couldn't pass the first 10 minutes because the content might be amazing, but they're reading. It's not engaged. There's no charisma. There's no energy. There's no power. So here you can have this amazing, brilliant, confident presenter with an amazing message, like breakthrough message. But if you cannot deliver the message effectively, you're gonna fail to engage people. And here I am, a motivated guy, right? Excited to learn. I bought the audiobooks that is in my interest list, right? Because I teach that. I'm like, man, I'm excited. But I couldn't pass through the first 10 minutes because the presenters, they're not charismatic enough. So that's why I feel is a good framework to think about your message, the psychology or the mindset, the presentation of the message, and then how to deliver the message. Have I lost you, brother? I think I did. So I'm going to keep talking here, right? I think Doug left us, and I don't know if I'm live or not. Actually, oh, here you go. I think it's just me. Oh, here you go. It's coming back. The man is coming back.
My computer completely crashed.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We're here, buddy.
All right. So
I can hear you. Yeah. Perfect.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
All right.
You just got to turn your camera
on live. Oh, we're still on live too.
Yeah, we're live. It's still live. Yeah, it's still live.
So hopefully but now you're frozen here. Let me go. There we go.
Can you turn your camera on, buddy?
Oh, it's not on?
No.
All right, hold on. Oh, it's buzzing again here.
Love technology.
That is weird. I don't know what my Mac, it just crashed out of nowhere.
Oh man. Let's see. We have some technical issues.
All right, let me put this camera back.
That's okay.
Hold on. There we go.
100% perfecto, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big picture framework.
What?
For example, a lot of people they get really worried about it. They're like, they freaked out. That's an example. As a speaker, this happens all the time. So one of the things that I teach, and I was getting ready to start pulling, every time something happens as a speaker, you want to have an exercise ready to go.
Right.
Right. So I was gonna go about doing my exercise right now but then I was trying to gauge how long it's gonna take if I actually lost you or just 30 seconds. Because if Doug is going, I'm like, okay, the show keeps going. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then I was gonna do an exercise. So that's one of the things about, instead of people panicking, freaking out, and it's kind of like, and and you teach this utilization, how you utilize whatever happens to add to your message.
It is so powerful. And as a matter of fact, some of the best stuff comes out of those situations, because when you have to like kind of dig into your toolbox and grab your first thing, sometimes you go, wow, I never thought about using it that way. And then you have this incredible like breakthrough that for yourself of going, wow, like, ah. But what's interesting is what you just shared as well is when first getting into, for me, the reason why I did so horribly when my first day, because I was speaking at music events and that NLP training and all of that, and I was a reasonable speaker, but I didn't understand presenting to sell.
Yeah,
and I'd never seen it. Like I never actually seen the thing, so I did horribly. And I think you guys sent me the script, and I'm like, a script? Like what? Like. Right. And I was like, nah, and then it wasn't until actually doing it, I went, oh, the script is not to be scripted. It's so that you have mastery, so that you can utilize when things happen.
100%, dude, 100%. So I want to talk about two concepts here. I love this flow. One is utilization, and one that both has to do utilization and being internal and external. So the idea, let's talk about utilization first. I have a cool story. Just if I forget, ask me about internal and external.
Okay.
So years ago, I was doing a presentation for Carlsbad Rotary Club, and they invited me to do a video marketing class. So I had my 90-minute presentation to speak at Carlsbad, California Rotary Club. And I show up there an hour before, and they didn't tell me. And there was a member, his name was Jim, and he was 92, and he was like literally on his last days. And the whole thing was, now the meeting, because the doctor said, dude, Jim's not gonna go for long, and he was a member of the Rotary Club for many years. They brought him in a wheelchair to honor him. And so so basically was the mayor of Carlsbad spoke. Then they had this whole ceremony for Jim, and I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. This happens last minute. And then here I am talking about video marketing, right? I was like, man, that's gonna
awkward.
Where am I gonna go with this? Because all these emotions, people like, oh man, maybe it's the last time I'm gonna see Jim, one of our founder members. And I'm like,
now let's talk of something really important, like video marketing.
Yeah, video marketing. You know what I mean? Like, so now I'm like, how am I gonna do this? So one of the principles that you teach is utilization, right? Flexibility. Whatever happens is happening in your environment, I'm gonna use my favor. Now, I did have, quote unquote, a script, a structure to go, but as an influencer, you gotta be so aware, instead of like internal in your head, you gotta be external to feel what's going on, that I have to be flexible. Here's what I did. When they introduced me, the energy was kind of like, right? Because Jim's last meeting, and I said, so today we're gonna talk about video marketing, guys, and there's a lot of benefit. That was my opening, and I said, there's a lot of benefits of using video, for business, for everything. But one of my favorite ones is to capture special moments. So the law of count of three, I'm gonna record this, and everybody's gonna stand up and say, Jim, we love you. Guys ready? I got my phone, and I go 1, and I'm recording. 2, 3, Jim, we love you. Wait. Dude, he's in a wheelchair, bro, like excited.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I have chills. I have goosebumps right now. I just remind the story. And I'm like, people like, and they kept clapping. And I'm recording this. I'm literally, and everybody's emotional. And that was like, okay. And then I go, the transition could not be, it's almost like a plan I had, right? But I didn't. And the key question was, I have to apply the things I teach, utilization, right? So that flows into being internal, external. So the idea of, as a communicator, when you have a script, and most speakers hate scripting, most salespeople hate scripts, and it's not like every presentation should be scripted, and I don't believe in that, but I feel some presentations should be scripted in specific cases. But what happens is that if you don't have a structure or a script, or you don't know where you're going to spend most of your time being internal. When you are internal, you're in your head, you're thinking, right? Well, I'm thinking what I'm going to say next, what's my next slide, what I'm going to show next. And the more internal you are, the less external with your audience
right.
you are. So now, because I always have a belief that the show happens outside. It means, like, imagine you go to Las Vegas script and there's all the lights and they give you signals, right? But you cannot see because you're in your head too much. So the audience, just like Las Vegas Boulevard, you have the lights, they're giving you signals to the audience. So you have to be external enough to know, to be flexible, to be able to utilize what's happening to your message. So it's not A or B, it's not being scripted or not, it's about being able to do both. And that's when mastery comes. That's my belief.
And I couldn't agree more. So many times, and it like even got accused of being salesy when I just would do. I mean, every day when I was at the treatment center, every day was like a seminar. We had club rehab in the morning, so we got them into state. Everyone was dancing and all that, and then I had story time, and I would tell stories, and I would utilize what was happening during whatever was happening there, plus what was going on in the world, plus what was going on in my life, because Heidi worked there too. So we were always utilizing, but I could always come back to certain keys and principles, and it always, for whatever reason, came out smooth, right? And mostly just because I've been doing it for so long. That's it. And one of the clients at the time was like, "You're like a car salesman. You're a salesman," and I'm like, "Yeah. I am. I am selling right now, but what am I selling?" And they're like, I'm like, "I'm selling you to you."
Love that. Love that.
And then they're like, "Oh," so then it became, because I would be that present, right? Be present, feeling people. And I can't help if I'm, some of the stuff that I've worked on for so long, just like you, comes out like so gracefully and elegantly and seems perfect. It's only because we've sharpened those axes so that we can serve at the highest level. And some people don't necessarily get that when they're first talking about scripting. It's like, this isn't about, this is so you could serve. This is your tool.
Yeah. I have a core belief that I say that your message starts when your presentation ends.
Yep. Perfect.
Right? Your message starts when your presentation ends. Like, for example, you're selling that person treatment. Let's say they're learning about the center, right? Yeah, you're doing a presentation, but the message really means, like, I can change your life, happens when you sign up and you follow through the process, right? And as far as what I realized in my career, and I'm sure we have similar experiences, is that most of the time when you're pushing hard on a sale and people feel like they're being sold, is because you haven't been able to explain the need. You haven't been able to connect, and people don't feel personally that you're there to help them. Because I feel like if you build up rapport and the audience of one or the audience of many feel like you're there to help them, if you are able to explain, elaborate a problem that the audience may have. And by the way, something that our listeners can jot down, every time you're communicating to someone, people, they fall into 3 categories. Number 1, they don't know they have a problem. Number 2, they know they have a problem, but they don't have urgency to change. And number 3, tiny, right, percentage, they know they have a problem, they have some urgency, and they're just shopping around for the best mentor, teacher, professional to help out. So my job as a communicator is just to kind of, to make them aware elegantly about the problem they may have, create some urgency, and show you why I'm unique to help solve them. And if I'm not, it's okay. But so that's, I feel, and that's what I learned throughout the years. And some people, usually the people have a problem or feel like being sold is because the presenter or the teacher, the educator, the coach haven't done a good job up front.
Right. Well, yeah. And just to clarify, in that story, I wasn't actually in a sales role.
Mm-hmm.
It was clinical. I was working.
Wow. Oh, okay.
So there was no call to action. Like,
wow.
literally the call to action was,
he had a lot of limiting beliefs there.
yes,
wow.
Love yourself. You deserve to transform. You are not what, you like, because in that world, people come in and they would have these limiting beliefs. I'm a drug addict. I'm a junkie. I'm a failure. I'm of all this. So, the 8 years that we worked there, we didn't sell anything. We were clinically working and doing seminars for free, essentially, because we were paid by the organization to have people go through. It's like getting, and I used to say this sometimes about, even when I was working with Tony, some of the resistance we get is like, man, these people need UPW so they can know that they're worth going to UPW.
I love that. I never thought about that. That's good. That's good.
Right?
That's really good.
So it was the same. It was very similar. And that's where, like, Heidi and I's passion is helping people. And just like you said, it doesn't matter whether the call to action is pay me for your service or whatever. Ultimately, it's that person's belief inside and whether or not they're worth making that shift. And it's creating that urgency and that sense of possibility. And that's what, what this show is really about ultimately is creating possibility thinking. And what you shared earlier about, asking the right questions, getting someone from that point of to awareness, like, oh, things could be different. I don't have to keep buying into this paradigm that's kept me stuck.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's like, for you, what you teach is helping people grow their business through speaking.
Yeah. Because I feel, what I feel, Doug, by the way, one day I want to interview, brother, and I will interview just in the work that you did with addicts. Man, I think it's so fascinating. And I think that's the hardest part, the hardest sale, because you got to sell the person to being, they have that lifestyle, whatever it is, the drugs or alcohol. And I'm sure you have some crazy stories. Yep. And you got to sell the person that different lifestyle. I would love to expand.
Anytime, brother. It's we're still doing it to some extent. Heidi and I, we still do the family program.
Okay.
So we still work with families. We don't work directly with people in treatment anymore, or it's very peripheral. Because what I found was really everybody is addicted to something. And they're addicted to the story. They're addicted to the drama. They're addicted to the, victimization. They're addicted to that. So it's really the same work, where it's just someone, who's addicted to drugs or alcohol is in a much worse place than someone who's addicted to the belief that speaking won't grow their business or that they can't be a great speaker. In order to get there, it's the same thing. So we're doing the same work.
That's powerful. Yeah, we're gonna plan on that. And for me to interview, because I think you serve a lot of people
for sure
in our community. Going back to the possibility thinking and the current environments that you have right now, as far, you use the word pivot, and a lot of people had to pivot, including me, including you. A lot of people. We had a ton of speaking opportunities. I usually speak between 2 to 3 times a month, going out and combining from keynotes to my own classes. So we had the last 3 months, some got canceled, some got moved, some got went online. And I'll tell you specifically, I had some limiting beliefs, which is weird because.
Oh, you mean you're human too?
Yeah. No, as far as I had limited beliefs about the whole virtual experience,
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, I think it's a good lesson for me and for our listeners here. So I've been doing speaking training for many years, and most of events to do is live events, 3-day events, 1-day events, keynotes, stuff like that. And obviously done a bunch of webinars, hundreds, and Facebook's live, all that jazz. But I never done like a day and a half event online. Never done it. So I was one of the keynote speakers for an amazing group they call Remarkable Practice. Dr. Stephen Franson, my brother, amazing. And I'm supposed to have an event in Chicago, and it was a day and a half event. I think it was like 4 hours on Friday and a whole day Saturday.
Of that you'd be teaching?
No, I was gonna be doing half of the classes. So probably I'll be doing 2 hours on Friday, and between the sessions like 4 hours on Saturday. But it was the whole day event. It was like 4 hours, and then Saturday, I mean 8 to 5, full blown. And then the whole COVID Chicago, they shut down Chicago. We're like, man, let's do online. So we were both excited. We was his company. I was part of as for Olympic Notes. But deep down, I knew it was gonna be good. I knew deep inside, like, man, I'm gonna deliver my content. I'm gonna engage people. It's gonna be awesome. But you know, brother, after a day and a half, they had 4,000 messages on the chat. Think about that, 4,000. Dude, it's incredible. And
the messages were positive, like they were.
Yeah. Like the people engage. You know, there's obviously they had a great team of coaches. They're super organized. But it was fascinating. I remember Friday night I finished up, and then I told my wife, like, you know, when you do a live event and you have that, you feel kind of like levitating. You're like, man, you're hugging people after the event, and you're like, man, it feels good just to love and to share, just like the energy after. And I'm like, and I'm having the energy by myself in my house, walking around like, yeah, it was good. It was good. And then Saturday, bro, we go the whole day, and I'm literally in shock. I'm like, dude, that was so killer. I mean, literally, because they had a private Facebook group they can share, add videos, but besides the point of serving the community, which was amazing, man, that was a big lesson possibility for me. And I'm like, wow, I always thought, yeah, I can do it, because people have the idea, well, I'm gonna be from a computer watching some guy speak for 10 hours. So we have that frame, and man, that was so powerful. And there's things that, as far as having different speakers, different facilitators, you bring people in on camera, you ask a question, they write it down. I had him. So there's all these little things that you do to create actually a more engaging experience online. But one of that I want to share here today is that one of my biggest takeaways is that it's possible. It is possible to create an amazing, not just do an event, but it's possible to create an amazing experience for the speaker and most importantly for the audience online. It's possible. Mm-hmm. And then they invited me to do the Australia version for their clients, and which duplicated. The only thing was that we had to wake up like 11 p.m. speak from 1 a.m. to 4. But again, it was really, I think one of the biggest takeaways from this whole COVID ordeal for me personally, I was like, wow, it's possible. And I really didn't think was to create, I'm not saying the same energy because it's different, but have the same impact or similar impact.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. No limit. I have zero limited belief. And now July 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I know in America, it's like, dude, you speak in July 4th for July. Well, the original is going to do an event in Spain, Barcelona, a speaking class. And now July 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and now got moved online. So I'm really excited. I'll be speaking at 3 a.m., because Barcelona time, but still super pumped, buddy. It is possible. Amazing.
Yeah, well, and it's such an important thing, because actually when Marshall talked about this yesterday, one of the things that he talked about, and I'm trying to think there was someone else who talked about it, is what you just shared, is that belief, that Marshall calls it, certainty. Tony calls it certainty. That the hardest thing in any of these situations is what's going on in here that prevents us from showing up and being present, getting stuck in our head, that internal, worried about all that, instead of having that belief, that certainty, it's going to be awesome. And obviously it helps to have a success, which then reinforces the belief. But of course, to even get to that first success without possibility thinking and going, okay, you know, it's always the first time that we get a little nervous.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I love this conversation here because it's not like I don't have experience doing events, right? Both you and I have a ton, but going in my first one, because I didn't have a frame of reference, my belief was, I know I'm going to be good because I'm going to cover pretty much the same content I cover live, so I know they're going to like it. But I didn't think like in a live event. I walk like, man, I'm gonna be like in a live event. I'm like this, brother. See,
yeah,
this,
beast mode on.
Like, and now no, my first virtual event, I'm like, maybe I wasn't a beast. Maybe I was going in, right? I'm like, maybe I'm a puppy dog mode right now, no, because you didn't have the reference. But then I got into it, and then like now I'm like, dude, beast is on now, like my certainty level. And if there's one thing that I learned that I want to share with viewers, just like is literally a headspace game. It is.
Always is. And that's where it's so interesting when we watch all of these things to happen in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody has the opportunity to change their relationship with what's going on. And instead of, you know, giving up and being like, oh, okay, you know, it's not going to be, you still went out there and gave it 100%. Yep. And even when you were thinking puppy dog mode, your puppy dog mode is still Pitbull, right? It's still you don't have puppy dogs. But
I was trying to get a contrast here, but
yeah, well, exactly. But that's the thing. We think sometimes that we're not even as on point or together as we truly are. Most people would never know the difference. The only time they know the difference is when you are sensing and feeling different. And even then, some people don't, depending on how masterful we are.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so interesting, you know, when we talk about fear, most people are, when they're worried about what someone else is thinking, the person they're worried about what they're thinking is worrying the same thing about what someone else is thinking. They're so stuck in their head. So what makes this gig so powerful is you and I and speakers out there and everybody who communicates with everybody has the opportunity to pull them out of their head and into the moment. Yeah.
And then two things on the whole fear of being judged. You touch on it. We were in a head. Man, if you're not okay, really okay to have people whatever judge you or whatever, if you don't want to use the word judge, criticize you, talk shit about you or whatever, if you're not totally comfortable that is gonna happen. Right. I have a core belief that I had to reframe my head that was really helpful for me. Because years ago, when I started promoting my classes online, Facebook, I put an ad with a video, and one guy goes, clown. I mean, leave a comment, clown. There's only one comment, clown. And the first one, I'm like, clown, like a clown? No, do that. And then I'm like, you know, the blood.
Yeah.
Then my mind, and here I am tracking the guy. I mean, literally. And I'm like, dude, that's so stupid. Roberto, stop, bro, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. So then we used that opportunity for me to grow. And I wrote this. I said, the ultimate form of judgment happens when someone that is willing to pay for your help, needs your help, doesn't know you exist. Now, that's judgment. Let me explain again. Right? The ultimate form of judgment, like the highest level of judgment, for me now is that when someone that is looking for my help, is willing to pay for my help, doesn't know him exist, because on his or her mind, like, I don't know Roberto. well, if I don't know this guy, therefore he's not that good. Because if he were that good, then I would know about him.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what is my only way to change that judgment?
Get out there.
Here we go. Get out there. So now I'm like, I get out there. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I mean, truly, because not knowing is a form of judgment. It's not only judgment, good, bad, or not unknown. I don't know. It is a form of judgment. So the only way for me to change that unknown is to communicate. So now I'm like, and really, brother, was I'm not saying that I still don't get frustrated sometimes, which I do, right? I don't have that level of emotional mastery, but I got way better, as far as, being criticized and get engaged in social media arguments, which nobody wins ever, you just get pissed off anyway.
But so how can you, like, the challenge becomes, and this is like, we're human and we care so deeply about people that when like someone says something like that, like you don't get me, like you don't understand. I love you so much that I put myself out there. I'm willing to take the hits because I believe in you. Why don't you get that? Like, how can I make that? And there's always going to be someone who go, oh yeah, you're, they're based on their mindset, I see that. Now, challenge is that there are some charlatans in this business.
Of course.
And there are also people who go through the work. They go to, UPW. They go to one of your events. They go to one of my events. They don't apply what we teach, and then they blame the teacher.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be elements of that. Always. And that's the challenge. And it was interesting. I was just doing a training the other day, kind of about disc profile and all of that. And the high I's, which you and I are both high I, high D, are, as an I, when we're in I mode, our biggest fear is rejection, right? But we wouldn't be able to put ourselves out there if we weren't high I, and it's this dichotomous experience and relationship we have, and that's what being human is having both that, the two sides of that coin, the need to serve, the need to help, the need to all that, and the need to be accepted at the same time.
And I think that dichotomy in selling or speaking or coaching or transformational work or inspirational work, I think happens because people feel their hearts, they want to serve, but then they have a wife, they have a kid, they have a car, they gotta provide. So is that battle, and a lot of people who are great speakers, they struggle with that battle. And I feel there's a lot of limiting beliefs that people feel uncomfortable offering what they do or selling. And for me, it's truly about removing limiting beliefs from the call to action or the offer or what I do. So one of the things that if I'm doing a speaking gig and I'm promoting something, I literally, whatever I can be doing a 4-hour training. And let's say I'm going to talk about my next thing. I literally anchor. I have this anchor goes off like in my head. And I see myself hugging people. I see my clients hug me. And I really see that. And I have this energy like my body. And all I'm doing now, I'm like, hey man, I'm about to make more friends. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, literally, because I had a lot of challenge to make that transition to being, oh, they like me. Hey, here's my whatever. Here's my coffee. Here's my class. Here's my coaching. Here's my shoes. Oh, your sales guy trying to sell me. You know what I mean? So I had to go back to your work, reframe my head, change my beliefs, so that now I genuinely, when I make the transition, my body's excited, my heart's excited. And for a lot of people, it's being aware, you know what I mean, of that transition.
And that is so true, because I know that about you. I remember one of the first times they were got stories about you. I remember Scotty telling me a story about some event that you like closed the room tremendously, and they were like, and obviously by now everyone knows that you have an accent. Scotty was like, they didn't understand a word he said, but he still closed the room because he was so passionate, so there, so present that, like, man, you couldn't say no to him because his energy, his love, his passion was stronger than for people to understand what he was saying.
That's it, you know. Yeah, that's it, buddy. So being a wordsmith is not my forte. I leave that to you and Marshall Silver, you know. That's not my forte. I gotta play with my strength, you know. Right. And so I speak from the heart for sure. Have my strategies, but that's my forte.
Yeah, actually, and a quick funny story. And I think I told you this. First time we met was over the phone when you interviewed me for the gig with Tony. Yeah. And then when I met you, I never saw what you looked like. I had no thing. I heard your voice. I imagined you to be like this tall, really skinny Spaniard with like one of those little tiny mustaches. And I just like, that's what your voice sounded like to me. And then
I never heard that before.
And then I meet you in person. I'm like, holy crap, this guy is like an Adonis. He's like gorgeous. He's like cut. And I'm like, this is like not what I expected. Like your voice was so different. It was a cool experience for me, but it was definitely such an interesting thing because as speakers, we know the power of our voice. And now with technology, we're able to now see everybody all the time. Because I bet back that now people, I'm sure, have Zoom interviews instead of over the phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you get to have like these moments where you get to really get another sense of the person.
You know something that I feel, and you can relate to this, when back in the day, when we started working at Tony, man, we didn't have smartphones. Remember the Thomas Guide when you're lost in New York, lost in New Jersey? I mean, literally, they put, Doug and I were traveling the country, and every 4 months you change, they go to New York. Like, I mean, you from New York, right? Yeah. But I've never been in New York. So now we got a meeting in Manhattan, have a meeting in New Jersey, one in Connecticut, and you've never been there.
Yep.
Look, we had Thomas Guides, you know?
Yeah, and plus we're carrying whiteboards and all, like, it's not even like we're just walking in. It's like we have stuff.
I think that one of the biggest things from that experience, 6 years experience, Tony, I think my two biggest takeaways from the whole thing. One is the power of speaking, the power of influence, the power of communicating, how much impact anybody can create if they focus, if they don't want to say master, but like really focus and develop that skill, can be tremendous. Really, anybody. And what I love about it is wide open. English is my third language. In Brazil, I studied Portuguese. When in high school, I had a choice to study English and Spanish. And I literally, if you look geography, Brazil is surrounded by Spanish-speaking countries. And I'm like, I don't know, 12, 13, I'm like, I'll never need English, ever. So I studied Spanish, right? So then here I am later. So that's what I encourage everybody to really think in terms. I think communication skill as an asset. We have real estate, we have money in the bank. I think communication is an asset. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I learned the experience, seeing Tony, seeing high performers like yourself and other guys. The second thing that I learned is that because our roles were so full of challenges on a daily basis, from speaking to sell, traffic, driving 2 hours here, driving 4 hours here, getting lost, speaking the evening the same day. You know what I mean? It was all these challenges, and you always got to keep reframing your mind, reframing your emotions, reframing your mind, reframing the meaning. And I don't want to say emotional mastery, but you try to get closer to it, to experience that daily, that the job itself, the opportunity itself allows, is like man, you want to train how to become a super powerful leader with an amazing emotional mastery, because you're going to have challenges every day. You know what I mean? So now when it comes to these situations, COVID, you cannot come, man, that training has really helped me personally about reframing my emotions, to reframing the meaning of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's, I just want to share. What were your takeaways from the experience? The biggest ones?
I think the idea of presence.
Okay.
When I was crushing it the most, I was not internal. I was just there, and I took away judgment. I was willing to take stands for people, and get past that fear of feeling salesy or anything like that. I was just like, look, I know you need this. If this training had helped anything at all, there's a part of you that is lit up and knows that this is possible for you. The travel and all of that, certainly the mindset, huge. I remember one time it was in California, and I was living in Carlsbad actually at the time. And it was an early morning meeting. Oh, and the other thing is, it's flexibility. Like sometimes a meeting would be in a restaurant. Sometimes it would be in a boardroom. Sometimes it would be, we could be doing a meeting for 8 people or 800 people. You never knew.
Yeah.
Right? Or you knew obviously going in, but for what would be coming down the calendar. And it was at a diner, and it was early in the morning, and the sun was coming right up. It was at dawn, and I couldn't see the fact in the parking lot, there was a light pole in the middle of the parking lot. And I just drove into the light pole.
Oh.
Right before the meeting, in front of the decision maker.
I love that stuff.
The airbag didn't go off, and I hit the windshield, and I was only going like 5 miles an hour, but it was enough that I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. So I hit my head. I've got a little, I'm bleeding, and I'm walking in, and the woman's like, do you want to cancel? And I'm like, no.
Are you the motivation speaker from Tony Robbins?
Yeah. Like, no. I'm like, we're here to deliver. Right. And, and I utilized it, of course, like talking about mindset, and I used in the presentation, if I believed that I wouldn't be able to, serve you because I just, screwed up in here, and I used it. And I know it was only like 8 or 10 people at that meeting, and we probably sold 1 or 2 tickets. I wasn't like crushing it, but the fact that I even showed up.
That's beautiful.
And so it helped me realize, but actually here's a story that I do share often, and I'll share with you. When I showed up, and you remember this, my first presentation, I bombed. And I remember that day when we went out to dinner, and we went to that restaurant, all the team, Jarek was there, you, Matt, Steve Ross, everybody, Scotty. And I'm like, man, I got 2 choices right now. I can go, oh my God, I suck. Because Matt basically told me, he's like, look, you're kind of fired. Like you got 2 weeks to get your act together, because we've taken you this far. So I believe you have what it takes, but you gotta send us some more content and prove that you could do it. And I did, and it was all great. But I remember in that moment, I'm like, man, I got a decision. Either I can wallow, I could have a pity party, I could sit in the corner and just kind of feel like a failure and defeated, or I could step up and prove that I live this stuff, that I just screwed up. Yes, I didn't understand. I didn't have, I take full responsibility, and I'm going to take responsibility now. And I sat down with Matt, Jarek, Scotty, I sat over with you guys to just say, look, to get to know you, for you guys to know that I was not that failure. I just failed.
Beautiful. I remember that, brother.
And that was, to me, that was like a big moment, because I had to overcome that mindset, right? We see it in life with all sorts of areas, right? Where we get to that point and we could go, man, I could just feel defeated. We see it, like, as an example, not even to go into broad, crazy stuff, but sometimes people, even if they're feeling financial stress, and they're like, oh, I'm already X amount in debt, screw it. I might as well just buy that TV. I might as well do whatever, instead of just going, no, wait, I can change. I can make this mean something. It's an opportunity, and do what's hard right now, which is going to be making some harder decisions to control, to add discipline, to master our emotions so that we can be effective. And that ultimately is what we teach, really, even as a presenter, is first mastering ourselves so that we can help others master themselves.
I'm so glad you had that conversation with yourself and you step up, brother, because now we're here.
Yeah.
You know, fast forward. What year was that? Was 2006?
I think it was 8.
2008?
7 or 8. Yeah. Yes, because that was the other thing. It was right after you left. It was during, because you left in when?
2008, 2009. Yeah.
Yeah. So like during like all the real estate crap.
Oh.
So that was like what we were walking into. Most of our offices were real estate.
And mortgage, yeah.
Yeah. And so during that time, like people had legit, just like now, legit fears because they had evidence. They had evidence. The market is crashing. The houses aren't selling. People aren't getting mortgages. So of course that external evidence can mess with our insides. And obviously we're seeing that now. That the challenge of making sense of what's going on outside. Similarly, one of the things that I learned and also working in the treatment world is listening to the listening of the audience without judgment.
Go back again. Listening to the listening of the audience without judgment. Without judgment.
So what I mean is, when we'd work with Tony, and I saw it there, but I saw it a lot more in treatment because it was more consistent in I got to know the people a lot better so I could learn more about them. But we'd go into an office and we do our training and we think we're doing great. And then sometimes we'd look at maybe someone is sitting there like just looking down, not feeling like maybe they're engaged or not. And then we could sometimes get a little internal and start judging.
Yeah.
How are we performing? Are we delivering? Are we connecting? Are they hearing this? Are they getting what we, am I meeting their needs? Am I serving them right now? Because we're getting into this judgment of it. And so many times, and it would happen with Tony, but more in the treatment world, because again, I had longer time to build relationships. Someone would come up to me and be like, or we had people come up and buy tickets. You'd be like, you were listening? Like we didn't even realize they were on board. They were paying attention because they have different learning styles.
Yeah.
So, one guy, so would be sitting there with his eyes closed, and I'd be like, this guy's falling asleep, right? And meanwhile, he'd come up and be like, I'm an auditory listener, an auditory learner, and I close my eyes so I don't get distracted by other stuff so I could really focus on what you're saying.
That's powerful. That's really powerful.
Right? So it's the listening to the listening conversation going, okay, let me figure out how they are processing it later. And just be there to serve. And and I noticed it even in my music career, because sometimes we get all internal. I do this mix and I'd be like, man, this record sounds awesome. And I'd send it into the record company or the producer thinking it's amazing. And they'd be like, well, yeah, it's good, but make some shifts. I'm like, really? And other times they'd be like, hey, can you just send me what you got? And I'm like, man, it sounds like it's not ready. Send it in. They're like, this is amazing. This is great. I'm like, really? So suspending the judgment for me, I think working with you guys and all that was definitely super, super powerful, and also excited my desire. Because once I saw Tony, I'm like, this is what I want to do. My first UPW, that was the first event I ever went to, was UPW. So you can imagine,
like your first event,
personal development
events.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Now I'd been listening to Tony and I've even shared this with Tony, is that like I listened to Personal Power and it turned my life around and went into the music industry, got off drugs, all that stuff. But I didn't even know there were live events. And then when you talk about communication, I couldn't agree more. Communication is the most important skill set we can master. Mastering our state is communication, right? Internal communication. And I got into NLP and all of that because I was having a failed marriage. Right. And what I realized, I was like, I got to take responsibility because somehow I'm not communicating this properly. But what I found was that the importance of communication transcends everything else, because what's going on in the world always is about communication, is about interpretation, is about giving meanings, is about all of that.
100%. Beautiful.
So we owe it to ourselves to be better communicators.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just expressing. That means listening.
Yeah, 100%.
And then that's where it comes to the listening of the listening conversation. Like, how are they listening?
Mm-hmm. You know, something that for me, as far as communication, intra-communication, when I communicate to myself, I had to learn throughout my journey to be okay, to change my mind frequently without the validation of other people. And I can give you without the validation of the people and without have to change because of a pain. So when I give you two quick examples, I do believe, like yourself, like the most important communication is the communication to have yourself, the little dialogue. Because once you figure out the meaning of things, right, and they're like, oh, I feel this way, then obviously you start shaping a belief system, you start taking action. And two examples. One is my wife is from California, and I've been in America for it's going to be 25 years. I'm going to be 50 in August. So I'm literally 25 years in Brazil, 25 America.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So half and half, truly half and half. So I've been in San Diego for many years, and San Diego is an amazing place. I mean,
beautiful,
amazing place. And 4 years ago, I came here to do a talk in a dental convention in Charleston, South Carolina. And I arrived in the evening, didn't see anything, all dark, go to the hotel, do my 4-hour talk. And I remember it was lunchtime. I'm like, I'm going to walk outside. Never been to Charleston, South Carolina. And I literally walk outside. And I'm like, is this a movie set? If you've ever been downtown Charleston on King Street, I mean, literally historic, beautiful. And I'm like, wow. And then I told my wife, if I ever move, we're going to check out. So opportunity came. My daughter, Sophia, was 4 months. She flew here for a little vacation. We love it. Now, life in San Diego was not bad. Her family's there. We love San Diego. But comes a point where once we gotta be okay to change without waiting for things to go. You don't need to change only things are bad, right? For real, most people change because, oh, now I gotta prospect, and now I gotta do this. And I condition myself to figure out, okay, what's important to me, my value system, and then I change. Life was good there, but like I feel here in a place where I could experience more of life. Does that make sense? It's not bad. So here, hey, you know what? Whatever was, if there was 8, here's 11. I'm just gonna experience. Wasn't a 2, wasn't a 3. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that caused me to. People like, why did you change it cross country? For really, coast to coast? Like, because I thought it was a good idea. I mean, literally. And the second experience, and I never shared this with anybody. And so first time I never shared with anybody or in video, share here. My political views change. Forever, I work in a bank in Brazil. So if you work in a bank for 10 years, came here. So you are like workers' party, you know? I mean, that's what you do, bro. You work in a bank, union workers' party. So that was kind of my mindset, you know? So for the longest time, I was like more, quote unquote, here would be like Democrat, you know? And I always, you know, I was not that it's just more, I could relate more to it, you know, that was, and then since this whole coronavirus, and then I really started looking things differently from personal responsibility, to freedom of choice, to I'm a business owner, have my business for 11 years. And I really changed. I went the other side now. You know what I mean? And now, and you know what? I'm okay. You know what I mean? It's not like, and it was just like, it's not like I'm stuck like, oh, I vote for this party for 49 years. No. And I'm like, you know what? I don't regret it. It was great. But now, based on my value system, it's going to be better. Follow me?
Yeah.
So I think like if you listen to us right now, what I'm trying, my point here is okay to change. And you don't have to wait for being bad. And you don't have to give much explanation as long as the change helps you meet your personal values, meaning the things that's important to you. And it's okay. Give yourself permission to do that, for real.
Yep.
Most people don't.
And you know, I couldn't agree more. I've posted that very thing multiple times. Like, it's okay to change your mind. And this goes for everybody. I'm not trying to persuade anybody.
Yeah, no, from one side to another, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just asking people to go question. It's okay to question. It's okay to go, maybe this paradigm is no longer appropriate. It may have been appropriate at one time, and it may have served. And like, is it appropriate for a 1-year-old to wear a diaper? Yes, I would say at 1, it's probably still appropriate. Sure. At 21, is that appropriate? Yeah, it's just the different needs, different everything. There might be, hopefully they don't need one. But I think part of the problem, what you just shared, looking for the validation, is here we are about dichotomy. Here we are on a platform that provides instant information. People can just get on here. It's free. And then when this comes out, the podcast and all that, it's all free, be it download, whatever. They're used to getting instant gratification, and then they're used to getting validation. They're looking for the likes, the comments, the whatever. And most people don't want negative comments. Then they put themselves in a box that serves. And then some people will say, if you don't agree with me, you can't play in my box. So now they create a bubble of validation, and that's more important, and that's their value system, which is, and it's not a judgment.
That's powerful.
But yeah, then they're like, oh, okay, I'm just going to make my sandbox. And here's what's interesting. Guys like you and I, what we've done is purposefully put ourselves in challenging opportunities. The thing I got from Tony, and I've applied since what changed my life forever, was surrounding myself with people that hold me to a higher standard, that think in terms of, that are more challenging, more holistic, more ecological, more successful. And here's what I found as well. At the end of the day, my most successful friends and people I know, they will say, it doesn't matter who's in office, doesn't matter what political party you are, I'm going to make it happen.
Boom.
There are people in office, president that I voted for, and there are presidents that I didn't vote for. And either way, I made it work. And I never got mad that the person who was in office, because that was a waste of my time to make a difference.
Yep.
I couldn't grow my business if I was worried about and getting upset on who's in office and spending all my time doing that. Now, granted, things get different now, because now it's more than just, I don't like that person in office. People are blaming certain situations for other things that are happening without taking personal responsibility.
100%.
Goes back to asking the right questions, managing our own state, and coming from a place of love, appreciation, compassion, and not looking for validation. We can have a different opinion that doesn't make you wrong. It just,
I know, people that I feel like nowadays, going back to communication, I love what you said, communication, everything. Man, if you don't, I love the word bubble of validation. I wrote here, that's by Doug. I love that. If anything outside the bubble of validation, man, I hate you. I'm like, you don't learn how, people don't know how to have a different opinion and still hug it out. You know what I mean? Still respect the person. It's crazy.
Well, anyway. And I use the example that if we come from a place of at our best, and it's hard often, that people if you can think the best of the person, right? So I understand if someone's in pain, they're going to behave a certain way, but they're doing it there is a positive intent. Now, I may not agree with it, but they're finding it's a, NLP thing that plays a positive intent, that every behavior has a positive intent, and think the best. So it works great in personal relationships and interpersonal relationships, right? Like, okay, you may say something, but you're saying it because you believe that's the best for you. I can disagree with it. That doesn't mean I have to make you wrong because you're doing it for your best intentions.
Yes.
Now, as a communicator, as a presenter, as an influencer, our job is sometimes to help crack open some other perspectives. And at the same time, that doesn't mean we're right. I think all we're saying is try on other perspectives before you make a decision, because you may find that another perspective might serve you better.
100%.
And that's what personal development is all about. I mean, you deal with it with chiropractors. How many times do chiropractors share that one of the objections they have is that people believe that, like, it's like you're cracking the back, and then like all the misnomers about chiropractic, which is a limiting belief. And I know that's one of your areas of expertise. It's not only who you work with, but it's just so interesting that it's all about changing perspectives and helping people ask better questions.
That's another breakthrough, and shout out to my fellow chiropractors there. And that's might be for a different podcast, but the man was literally talking about limiting belief of like, that's what they do. And that's what they did for me and my family, is how like you just have a set of beliefs about how you should, quote unquote, live your life in terms of health, right? And then literally is a whole different way of looking at health, which is beautiful, which is beautiful. I'm super grateful for it. But doesn't start an adjustment. It started with the whole idea that health comes from above down, inside out, from the brain out down, right? To all your organs, inside out, not from a pill. So that principle, above down, inside out, really like woke me up. My wife is also, I don't want to get into it, so we're almost done here, but it's such a beautiful principle, and I'm super grateful. But again, I feel like besides anything, it's a mindset shift, like we were talking about the whole show here today.
Mindset is everything, obviously. That's why we do what we do, and I couldn't be blessed to have you as a mentor and dear friend, a brother from another mother. You're now closer, which is good.
I know, brother. I gotta go hang out. I love Florida, man. I love Florida.
Well, open invite here as well. We've got space. We have a built-in sort of babysitter, if you don't mind. I'm running with scissors. We should be fine. We make sure we keep the guns and the booze together. That's all. So it should
That's it. I love it, brother.
So how can people get in touch with you as we wrap up?
I have two companies. One is called Influenceology. So if you learn more about business presentations, communications, just go to influenceology.com. And if you're a chiropractor, you can go to chirospeaking.com. chirospeaking.com.
Beautiful. And as we leave, and what you said, you were sharing some books. I missed that part. Are there any books that you recommend for someone who's looking to grow their influence, grow their presentation, or any book now?
I published 5 ebooks. One of them is the 7 closing mistakes presenters make. You can download for free in Influenceology.
Okay.
How to transform pause into influence. You can go there. They're like 30 pages each. And how to transform, how to speak with confidence. That's like, I think, a 50-page ebook, all for free. You can start there.
Okay. Yep. Good idea. Awesome. Yep. Love it. Well, brother, I love you for who you are and who you aren't. So appreciate you. And God bless you, and look forward to more fun in the future for sure. We got to do some events together.
You, brother.
Yeah.
I can't wait to interview you, learn more some of your intervention techniques. I want to learn that.
You got it, brother. It's some will be familiar to you.
Hey, man, I want to take it to the next level. So
awesome, brother. I will see you very shortly. Love it to you and the fam.
Love it too, buddy. Appreciate that. Thank you.
God bless.